Oh man, we're gonna make some choices today. And guess who else is making choices? Those NFL teams. We're gonna talk about those top 4 picks and then one player, one lock here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That is no lie, man. It is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen on Draft Day 2025. We are finally here. I know y'all are glad, and we are absolutely thrilled to be here too. Glad to have you here on Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast, actually twice a day here on Locked On NFL. Today is Thursday, so that means Chris Carter from Locked On Steelers and the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is here to join us for the show, a show that you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Whether you watch or listen, we'll be there. Make sure you tap in. And the show today that is also brought to you and sponsored by LinkedIn Jobs. That's right. It helps you find the candidates you want to talk to and faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. Chris Carter is with me. This is where we're going to end up. We're going to have fun in the third segment. We are going to talk about one player, one lock outside of the top 10. It's easy scouting to do it. We think in the top 10. We're going to pick a player and a team somewhere between 11 and 32 that we are sure are going to end up being married after the night is over with. I think we picked the right. We already just discussed it. We picked the same team and the same player blindly, but we're going to flip-flop it. That just means great minds think alike. We're going to go over the top 4 picks in the draft. The first one is already done, so we're really going to pick 2 to 4, and we'll talk about that, give you an idea what the Jaguars are going to do at 5, what the Steelers are going to do at 21, or wherever they end up picking at. But first, we're going to just start at the top of the show, Draft Day 2025. Chris Carter, it feels like every time we get here, man, it feels like we just been carrying a 75-pound rucksack on our back, dragging it uphill. It just seems like finally we made it to Draft Day, bro.
We did. It's always crazy. It's a slog. You work your way through it. There's plenty of mornings and nights where you're looking at tape and you're comparing it and you're contrasting it and you're reading random notes and you're just putting your own notes together. Then you're ranking guys. And then you're double checking yourself. You're triple checking yourself. And now it's the day of where you can just sit back, just be happy about your work, and just get ready to dive in when these teams actually start making their picks.
So pick 1 is truly in the books. It's not really, but it is. Everyone knows that the Titans need a quarterback, and everyone now knows that the Titans are going to take Cam Ward at number 1. I want to ask you about that a little bit. Before we get to Spencer German with the Browns to talk about the Browns' second pick, you have any bad feelings about the fact that you might be picking number 1 overall, knowing you ain't picking the best player in the draft, but you're picking the player that you need the most?
It depends if you think that player is the franchise game changer, right? Because you might think that Abdul Carter is a better overall player, but you might think that Cam Ward is the franchise quarterback that's gonna lead you to the promised land. And so I get that. And so quarterback is the one position where I think if you think you're getting the guy, even though like let's say like for example, you think that there's a quarterback and a DN where you think one guy is TJ Watt and another guy is Josh Allen. And maybe not Josh Allen. I'd still take Josh Allen over TJ Watt. But point being, like if you think that if a superstar DN
Baker Mayfield.
Sure. But like I would honestly, I think Baker wouldn't even fall in that category. But let's use Baker, for example. But if you really need that quarterback and you think Baker Mayfield can get you to the promised land, whereas TJ Watt will be a huge foundational piece for you, but you need that quarterback to get your system going, I totally get it. So that's where I do feel like I understand it. Quarterback's the one position where I make that exception for. Otherwise, I do go BPA across the board.
No doubt about it. And I think Cam Ward, everybody that I know associated with the Titans, Tyler Rowland, the madman who hosts the morning NFL show, they're super, super excited about Cam Ward. And I'm not necessarily happy to see Cam Ward coming into the AFC South and going to the Titans because I'm a Jaguar fan. I think I like seeing them in quarterback purgatory, and I think he's going to take them out of it. But the Giants pick 3rd, the Browns pick second, and Spencer German, Well, people think they know who they're going to take too, but Spencer has a little bit of a good spin on it. He'll take you around the block, but he's going to come right back to where we all think he is, and that is Travis Hunter. Check this out.
Peter Schrager of ESPN reported on Tuesday that both the Browns and the New York Giants, drafting one spot after the Browns, are fielding calls on their respective picks from teams that are maybe looking to trade up earlier in the draft to take certain players. Now, I'm not doubting Schrager's reporting here. I'm sure there are some calls being made, especially now that the Titans have all but told everybody, we're not trading out, we're staying put, and signaled that the draft starts at number 2 because they're taking Cam Ward that's kind of been known now for well over about 2 months. So that seems etched in stone. Teams that maybe have interest in that next grouping of players, whether it's Hunter, whether it's Abdul Carter, whether it's Ashton Genty, they now maybe want to get up and get those guys and guarantee themselves one of these blue chip players in this class. And so it makes sense that calls would be being made. Now, I still think the Browns don't end up trading out of this spot. I think they are in a position right now where you are in rebuild and looking to add talent quickly. Now, and so I understand where now all of a sudden there's so much love for him as the pick that it seems maybe a little suspicious. And I can get that. I can certainly respect the fact that it feels that way in some respects. But I do think that the Browns have been set on Hunter being the guy for quite some time now.
I do too. I think they did their due diligence. I think they did what they were supposed to do. They listened. And they're probably going to continue to listen, Chris. But I also believe that Travis Hunter is the best player in the draft. And if you're Cleveland, you don't need to overthink this. You had enough, trust me, you had enough unknown stuff come up and happen to you about your quarterbacks and all of these things, injuries. Just take the best player.
Take Travis Hunter. Just don't make it complicated. Get this done. I think that's what happens. I think they get him. He's who I've been mocking to them for a while. Just makes the most sense for either side of the ball. Putting him wherever you want him. And, I heard they love him at wide receiver, whatever. They need to get him. And that's the thing. I think they're getting a generational player when getting that guy, and that's what you need when you're picking inside the top 5. You need to not be playing around, getting somebody who is going to last you for the next decade, decade plus. As a great player. Travis Hunter's that guy. I would not be shocked if this is the pick is where I have them. Honestly, I feel like even sometimes the top 5 picks are a little bit of a chalk walk these days for a lot of people, because there's some people who are thinking outside the box, but me, I've been locked in on these guys. And my strategy, I know what you, Wig, when I get a sense of where a team is going, I will hear the insiders from the teams that cover these teams as we get closer to the draft. But everything outside of 3 weeks before the draft, when I start to hear, oh, they're actually interested in this guy, oh, they're actually interested in that guy, that's when I'm just like, my smoke screen alert is up. And so that's the same, we'll get to the Steelers. I think there's a lot of smoke screens being thrown up in Pittsburgh of who they actually want, but that's what you're supposed to do if you're a team. You want people to not be able to know where you're going unless you're the first overall pick and you don't really care. If we're taking Cam Ward, let's stop the speculation. Let's get the party going over here. But everyone after that, you want people to guess where you're going, because they have to plan around you. They have to figure out they want to jump ahead of you. That's all a factor here. So I think that's going to be something really exciting for tonight.
Yep. And one plus thing, I agree with everything you said, by the way. One of the plus things about this for Cleveland is this. They haven't had a lot of stuff to smile about. Myles Garrett has been one. And the reason why is, one, he's really, really good at what he does. 2, he's probably number 1 in the NFL on Freakazoid list. And I mean, just with his physical presence, not what he does in his private life. I ain't talking about none of that stuff. But I am also saying this. Travis Hunter is probably top 5 all time of the Freakazoids in the drafts list. They get 2 of these types of dudes on their team. There's 2 T-Rexes walking around that corner before the third person ever even comes out of that tunnel. That is the kind of stuff where you could at least grab a hold of that and start building on that for your future in the National Football League if you're Cleveland. So at least for right now, the Cleveland fans will have something to cheer about. I know you're a Steelers guy. You don't care about Cleveland having nothing to cheer about, but I have to say that because that's the way that it's supposed to be. All right. We're not done. Picks 2 and 3. Well, 3 and 4, actually. Pick 1 is already done. So pick 3 and 4 from the Giants and the Patriots. Talk about smoke screens. There's a bunch of them have been around New York. Patricia Trainer is going to help us out with that when we return here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Yeah, I did that just yesterday. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in and your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps with all-in-one convenience, you can use Monarch Money to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Game Time. Man, I'm going to flat out let you know there's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it easy and fast to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save up to 60%. The all-in pricing means no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code. I'll spell it for you. LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It is draft day. It is Locked On NFL, and that is a hell of a thing, man. Draft day on Locked On NFL. We have worked so hard getting ready for this draft as a total network. Our mock draft is out on Locked On NFL Draft on that page. Make sure you check that out. And then on the team pages, you can find it. You can find the picks that your team made. We had a lot of fun doing that around the network. We had a chance to get together like we do on the squad shows, always fun. And now we're going to get together and talk about the Giants and the Patriots, teams that pick 3rd and 4th. Patricia Trainer, there's a lot of smoke going up around New York, man, and nobody really knows what they're going to do. It's a perplexing place to be. Like the best player available lines up with a team needs sort of. Like what I mean by that is the Giants need pass rush help, but they got two pretty good pass rushers. I think Abdul Carter is a perfect player for them. And Chris, you probably know a little bit more about him than me, but they can play him as stack linebacker on 1st and 2nd down like Michael Parsons, and then use him to rush the passer or spy quarterbacks. I think Abdul Carter lines up pretty good for the Giants at number 3.
I think he lines up great. That's who I have mocked to them. He's also my best player in this draft class. I think that injuries aside, he would have been number 1. I think if he wasn't injured. Well, that's not true. I still think the Titans go Cam Ward, but I think that the Browns might have gone Abdul Carter if he wasn't injured. And I think that he's worth it, and he'd be a game changer for them. And I know that there's talk about maybe moving Thibodeau, but for me, if I'm the Giants, I have a chance at a generational pass rusher. I got to get that edge rusher is the second most important position in this game outside of quarterback.
No doubt about it. Let's see what Patricia Trainer from Locked On Giants has to say.
All right. The first scenario, the Giants are going to trade out of number 3 and down to pick up more draft assets. I am selling on that one. Okay. The reason why I am not buying that particular rumor is there's actually several reasons. Number 1, the Giants typically in the first round, if they're going to trade under this regime, they've always traded up. So the Giants, best available, okay? They are going to go best available. Now, it just so happens that in this draft class, you've got 2 players that are considered generational talents, and Travis Hunter of Colorado and Abdul Carter of Penn State. The Giants would be foolish to trade down and lose out on one of those guys. Now, look, I think the Giants are going to stay put at number 3, take the best available, which again is whoever Cleveland doesn't take. If they don't take Carter, it's going to be Carter. If they don't take Hunter, it's going to be Hunter. If Cleveland doesn't take either of those guys, and it comes down to a choice of Hunter or Carter, I think the Giants will take Travis Hunter.
Giants in a weird spot for me, man. They need a quarterback. They signed 2 veterans that are serviceable, better, I believe, than Daniel Jones. It just still feels real lame ducky to me with the coach, with the GM. It's like almost like no matter what they do, like for instance, Trent Baalke picked Brian Thomas Jr. last year in the 20s. He still got fired, right? So it's like the Giants kind of make it feel like do good, but it doesn't matter if you do good because the team ain't going to be great. So we're going to fire you anyway. This just all seems really weird to me, Chris. It's
always a weird circumstance when you got a limbo situation like this, and that's why you don't want to be in that. If Brian Daboll, if this staff, if the way that everyone wants to work in New York wants to take a step forward, they need to keep building by just pick. Like it's what Patricia said, best player available at all times, because that's how you are. If you trust your scouting work, you trust your front office, you trust the research that you've done, you stick with that. When you start to go outside of that, when you start to throw that to the wind, then you don't have structure. And that's what you need to become a better organization, is structure. And the Giants used to be that. They used to be one of the more respected organizations in football. They were a perennial, powerhouse, not powerhouse, but they were a perennial threat with Tom Coughlin many years ago. And now they haven't been that for a decade now. So it's sad to see that, but the way you build back to that is you keep stacking good days, you keep stacking good drafts, and the key to stacking good drafts is keep trusting your picks in those drafts and going with what you're trying to do there. That's why I just think Abdul Carter is a no question, no brainer. Get it done, get him in the building, and deal with the rest later.
Let's get to the Patriots that picked 4th in this draft. The Patriots, for a team picking 4th with a brand new coach, a quarterback that worked. There's a coach that got fired, even though the pick they made last year was considered a home run, right? It's not just about one pick, right? But this does seem like a very, very important pick for Mike Vrabel. They spent a lot of money in free agency. My man Nick Cattles, the new host of Locked On Patriots, is here to talk about and talk us through what the Patriots could possibly be going through.
We have been waiting for it. Finally, the draft is here. The Patriots, of course, will be on the clock with the 4th pick in the first round tonight. And this is the most important phase of Mike Vrabel's takeover of this program. Don't get it twisted. We talked about free agency. We talked about the coaching staff. But starting tonight, this is the most critical phase of everything. The way that you get sustained success in the NFL is by drafting well. As we've seen over the past few years, the reason why the Patriots have had back-to-back 4-win seasons can be directly connected to their terrible drafting for way too long. And tonight, they have to stop the bleeding. This weekend, they have to stop the bleeding. So what's the latest buzz? Todd McShay wrote about Will Campbell and the Patriots. This is what he wrote. Mike Vrabel, quote-unquote, fell in love with Campbell during the pre-draft process. Campbell's football intelligence and leadership qualities are what sold Vrabel.
Sounds like my man Nick Cattles is in love with an offensive lineman, and that sounds like a very Mike Vrabel thing to do. Is this who you mocked them to take?
Yep, this is exactly who I've been mocking to them. Will Campbell makes the most best offensive lineman in this draft class. Amazing relative athletic score at 9.91. Great traits. It all adds up. You pick Will Campbell, you get Drake Mason protection, and you go to work after that. It just makes the most sense. It's honestly like the first 4 picks line up so perfectly, I think, with what these teams need to do right now, and with some of the great players there. I think 5, we could get to your boys in the Jaguars. I don't care what everybody says. I know some people are putting him down. I've been heavy on Mason Graham going to the Jags for a minute now. I'm sticking to my guns there. Like I said, I don't buy smoke screen talk. And look, sometimes it's not. Sometimes the early talk can be the smoke smokescreen, but I'm willing to gamble on the late stuff being the smokescreen more often than not. So give me Will Campbell at 4 to the Patriots. Give me Mason Graham at 5 to the Jaguars.
All right, I'll discuss that at the top of segment 3, and then we'll let you tap into the Pittsburgh happenings over there in Pittsburgh. But what I want to do when we get to the meat of segment number 3 is one pick, one player. Top 5, as you just saw, the top 5 is usually easy scouting, right? Unless something real crazy happens. I think 6 through 10 is usually easy scouting. It gets hard, though, to try to pinpoint teams and players. For me, it's usually easy because I go with tendencies and I try to find that guy that drops that shouldn't drop, right? So me and you kind of ended up in the same place. We'll talk about that and let the people know exactly where we ended up. And we'll do it here in just a second on Locked On NFL. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by LinkedIn Talent Solutions, all in. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Oh, no. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free and share it with your network and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post your job. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. Add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high quality hires. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, moving and grooving here on Locked On NFL. It is draft day. It is finally here. We've been working really, really hard for several months here behind the scenes to make sure you guys get all the coverage that you need here from the Locked On Podcast Network. And now we didn't work as hard as the people in those respective buildings worked. We mentioned the Jaguars and what they might do. I have no idea. I am perplexed. I never heard the Mason Graham smoke from the building. Though all of that was just all of us. And it seems like it makes the most sense because they need help stopping the run. This is the first time EVP, first time general manager, first time head coach. You want a dude, as they call it, intangibly rich, to be someone with a large body of work that's going to come with a lunch pail every day and get it done. And Mason Graham's that type of player. I would put 3 technique in and of itself, though, as like their 5th biggest need. So I'm thinking the Jaguars either move or they just go for the excitement and take Ashton Jeanty and say, we need somebody to help us score touchdowns. What do you think about that? And get to the Steelers and tell me what you think they're going to do at 21.
Look, Ashton Jeanty would be very interesting, especially after Trevor Etienne being the guy that you thought was going to come in there and change things up. Granted, Jeanty more of the generational player that I think that you could come in and expect to be that difference maker. But to me, if you're the Jaguars, you're looking for a foundational piece. You're looking for getting something straight away. And you talk about stuff in the run, you talk about getting after the passer up the middle. Mason Graham has the potential to be that generational player. I think there's quite a few guys who could be generational D tackles in this class, but Mason Graham might have the most upside with his build, athleticism, experience, tape, all that put together. That's why he's ranked up so high. And to me, it would be, I think he would be, maybe not a no-brainer, but a very quick thought for me if I'm the Jaguars adding there. But hey, in my top 100 big board, when I'm looking up that high, right behind, I do rate Ashton Jeanty ahead of Mason Graham. So if the Jaguars take him, wouldn't be mad at that. I also be looking at guys like Jahdae Barron, guys like Tyler Warren, guys like Arwen Membal, guys like Will Johnson, Ted McMillan, those guys. There's a lot of prospects who could fit there. But for me, Mason Graham just makes a lot of sense with what they need right now and what could be, a long-term really good investment. But hey, like with Mason Graham, it could be interesting there. But the thing is, I have the Steelers going for another Michigan defensive tackle, and it's a guy I've been mocking him to the Steelers for months. I think that he's been the guy. I loved his tape when I first started scouting out this college class back in January. When I was putting things together, and I like Derek Harmon, I like Walter Nolan as well, and the Steelers needed DT. And I know a lot of people are saying, what about Shedeur Sanders? I truly believe when I was talking about that smokescreen stuff, I think the Steelers, they were laying the groundwork for the D tackles for a while. And then all of a sudden, when you get to like 3 weeks out, you start to hear the Shedeur Sanders stuff just get louder and louder and louder. And then it's just like, oh, Shedeur Sanders, oh, that's it. And it just feels very Malik Willis like when it was, oh, Mike Tomlin loves Malik Willis. They got dinner together. You know, they both love chicken wings. They love chicken wings.
You remember he smiled at him at the combine or he was smiling at the Senior Bowl, like, and everybody thought he was going to Pittsburgh, including me. I bought it.
And see, that's what I'm saying. Mike Tomlin does this all the time. I think that's what's happening with Shedeur Sanders. I could be wrong. But my view is that Kenneth Grant is the nose tackle, D tackle that can flex between 1 and a 3 tech that the Steelers would really be excited to have. He'd help them. They had problem stuffing the run like the Jaguars. They couldn't stuff the Ravens run at the end of the season because Tyler Linderbaum, the interior of the Ravens line, they were able to pick on Larry Ogunjobi, anyone not named Cam Hayward on the interior, and just double team them, move them out the way, and that caused the rest of the defense to kind of fall around behind them. If the Steelers get a stud defensive tackle who cannot be moved like that, who can eat up double teams and hold them in position like that, that will put them in the position to have all the other parts of their defense work even better. And long term, it'll find them the replacement for Cam Hayward. That's why I have Kenneth Grant in our locked on mock draft. That's who I picked because he fell to the Steelers at 21 perfectly. In my latest, my final first round mock draft that I did for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette this morning. Go to post-gazette.com for that. I have Kenneth Grant being there again and then picking him there again. Now there's a chance he goes early, but I think that it's going to be. I think that that is a great fit for the Steelers when looking at what they need, what they want, and what could be available.
Because of Derek Harmon, I did not choose that as my lock, but it was the one that was my lock the whole time until all of this love for Derek Harmon started seeping through, and I got a little bit scared that Pittsburgh might move off. So let's move to this one lock, one player outside of the top 10. I did not tell you who I chose until right before we recorded, just for housekeeping purposes, and I'm glad I did because we chose the same guy. So I'll go first, and then you'll go to your secondary. The first guy that I picked, the lock that I believe, and I'll explain it, the Falcons. Last 5 years, last in total sacks. The Falcons, last 10 years, last in the NFL in total sacks. The Falcons, the last 20 years, dead last in the National Football League in total sacks. Outside of Abdul Carter, the best pure pass rusher in this draft, in my opinion, is Mike Green from Marshall. And I think he ends up in Atlanta. He is exactly what they need. I think Raheem Morris, being a defensive guy, will know and understand that what he's going to inject is a little bit of Jarrett Verse. Maybe not as powerful, but very, very similar to Jarrett Verse, maybe with a little bit more pass rush acumen. My lock for the draft outside of the top 10 is Mike Green going to Atlanta.
I think it's a perfect fit. It's why I said I did the same thing. In fact, in my full first round mock, that's exactly where I have Mike Green going, is to Atlanta. That would have been my choice here as far as my lock. I'll go a little bit further. I'll go a little bit further out, and I'll say at number 20, the Denver Broncos select Omarion Hampton, running back out of North Carolina. Ooh. Now there might be some PTSD going on, because you're like, what, another North Carolina running back early in the draft? But come on, man, we can't be doing this again. That didn't work out with Javonte Williams. Relax. Omarion Hampton ain't Javonte Williams. He's going to be a stud for the Broncos. I think him and Bo are going to be a problem. They're going to be good to go. So I think that's a lock there. But there's several guys that I feel very confident about where they're going. I do feel like after 20, it always gets a lot murkier. But like, for example, I have Ted McMillan falling out of the top 10, and if he does, I have him going to the Cowboys. I do too.
Look at that. Great minds think alike. I'm telling you, bro.
If the Colts don't trade up, I think they stay at 14. They get their tight end in Colston Loveland out of Michigan. I'm big on, and if Ted McMillan is picked at 12 by the Cowboys and there's no other receiver taken, I have the Seahawks going after Matthew Golden at 18. So there's some things I don't feel as confident about. Like the Bengals could go D tackle or O line. I think they need help in the trenches in either direction there. I went O line with my final pick of Kelvin Banks, but I could be wrong there. But again, this is the excitement, man. And the thing is I always do no trade mocks. The way I do, Tony, I don't know how you do, but like I don't do any trades, because I wanted to give every team and show like, hey, this is what I think they value. This is where, if they were here, and this is who was left, this is who I think they should and would take in this situation. And as far as that goes, and the way that I play a game. So if y'all want to go look at our mocks that we published and put out there for people, you get 1 point for getting the right player to the right team. You get another point for getting a right player to the right number they were picked at. And then I always forget this. You also get another point if you just pick a player to be in the first round at all. So like,
okay.
So like, can't like for example, everyone, your free spot on the bingo board is Cam Ward at number 1 overall. So you get a point for being the Titans, a point for being first overall, and a point for the first round. So there's your 3 points. So if you get a perfect score, you can get 96. But again, that's where the fun happens when you do this stuff. And it's the draft, man. It's fun. It's the day that everyone has hope that they are going to find the generational talent that's going to change their favorite football franchise, their favorite sports franchise, and make everything that much better. So I'm excited to see what happens tonight.
I am excited to see what happens tonight, too. Before tonight comes, if you want to take one last look at our mock draft, you can find it on Locked On NFL Draft on that page. You can also find your respective team's picks on your team page on Locked On and the part of the draft where your team actually selected. So make sure you tap in wherever you get it. Man, we're finally here. Chris, I know you got a busy day. I'll be doing a postcast tonight for after the Jaguars pick or picks, depending if they come back into the first round. But make sure you follow all of your Locked On pages around the network. Maybe, man, please, we work really, really hard for this to bring you, the listener, the best actual coverage you can get from local experts. And we'll still be here on a day like today. This is like our Super Bowl, so we're here for you. Make sure you tap in each and every day to Locked On NFL, Locked On whatever your team is, Jaguars, Steelers, and make sure that you get the best coverage you can get from around the league. We appreciate you spending your 31 minutes and 30 seconds with us today. Happy draft day. We'll see you here tomorrow on Locked On NFL.